Hello, welcome to January 17th, 2023. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation video. This is something that I do every morning just after waking up. It's now 4:33 a.m., and I do this in order to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone. These objectives and principles give my life purpose and direction, and also tools that I can use to get there. The purpose and direction are the objectives. The principles are the tools along the way. I also use this time to think about the last 24 hours, including my night's sleep, to see how I did, and then also to plan for the coming day. Let's begin. First, last night and yesterday. I've got a dog on the footstool there, so I gotta watch my feet. Last night was a pretty good night's sleep. Got to bed just a little later than usual. I can feel it just a little bit. Oh, excuse me. It's funny how just when I think it, I feel it. And then yesterday was a good, very productive day. Got everything done that Yumiko and I had set out to do. So, namely, I had done my blog, did my exercise in the morning, good dose of exercise, and we were around the house. We did our registration for our upcoming trip to Japan, registering our travel information with the Visit Japan website. It's an official government site where you can pre-register all of your customs information and just get a QR code to get through customs. So we've got that. The code should arrive soon, I hope. And we did that, and there was one more thing. Oh, and I did a dry run of my packing, that's right. And I did a book reading as well. Not a book reading, a book signing. Yeah, so that's what it is. Good day. Okay, otherwise, challenges and opportunities. I did a lot of script writing throughout the day, which is one of my principles. It's the principle where I forecast the moments immediately ahead and prepare. Also, it could be immediately or near-term or even long-term moments ahead. I did that this morning as well, preparing for this exercise and for my upcoming day of work. It was good. All right, so pretty much an average day yesterday, filled with opportunities and challenges. Opportunities to improve, be better, squeeze more virtue out of my life, and challenges to do the same. Challenges to overcome in my quest to do the same. All right, let's do the good life. First, my 7 objectives. These are as follows. Number 1 is to be always ready to die. This means that I need to have my life in order, my affairs, my relationships, and my personal objectives. Not objectives in the sense of the Good Life Creed, but objectives in terms of what I want to do, my personal goals. And I do. All those things are in pretty good state. My second objective is to make good and effective use of my time, to not be wasting my days, but to be utilizing them to lift my experience of life higher and improve the overall balance of virtue in the world. Not that virtue is a static thing. And by the way, I'll talk about virtue a lot in this video, and I define virtue as efforts to improve the well-being of thinking creatures, the happiness basically. And it's a very particular type of happiness. It's a happiness that does not come at the expense of other thinking creatures. At the undue expense is probably a better way to say it. So I want to live a good life where I'm doing that. My third objective is to develop and maintain good and sound life objectives and principles. That's these that I'm referring to right now. And this exercise, the Good Life Creed recitation, is that primary effort that I do in that capacity. Next is to cultivate good emotional reactions so that I react well to whatever happens in life. And then the next one is to perform good actions, just to do good things throughout the day. And then to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities so that I'm reaching for things that are within my grasp and not worried about things that I can't touch. And then lastly, my last objective is to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. Especially when I'm having a tough moment, to be especially deliberate and careful then. Like I'm having a little bit of a tough moment right now. Today feels like really the real first day back to work after the holidays. And I'm dragging a little bit, even though I've had a really good, I finished my projects well through the new year. I'm dragging a little bit this morning. So I stay deliberate, calm, and doing just one thing at a time, slowly and deliberately and carefully until I get through the other side. And the other side will be reached once I start my work day in earnest. Work always seems to bring some peace, of a sort, strange sort. That's the sort of peace that comes like exercise. Exercise brings a kind of a physical balance, but you have to do the hard work of the exercise to get there. Okay, now my 34 principles, as follows. Number 1 is the principle of war. To always be fighting against things that I already believe are true, and anything that I want to bring on board as true, or that others suggest I should believe as true. I want to fight against these things to discover if I'm wrong. Principle number 2 is reason, which has the sub-principles of honesty, objectivity, doubt, and humiliation. The war that I mentioned needs to be fought with a weapon, and that weapon is my critical thinking capability, my reason. To that end, I need to be honest with myself and others, objective in my view, a skeptic, and also be willing to accept and appreciate, acknowledge and appreciate when I'm discovered to be wrong. Number 3 is the homunculus. I don't believe I have a soul, or any of us does, but I do know that I have a consciousness, it seems. I should say I know tentatively, it seems I do. What other choice do I have to think? And I refer to this consciousness as my homunculus. The next principle is the Anchorhold, which is my reminder that the homunculus is subject to suffer within me. It is, life's hard, and that it'll die with me as well. It's like a man on a rock in a sea. The waves batter and push him around, and the wind comes and the rain, and there's sunny days too. But ultimately, the homunculus is going into the sea. And that will be the end of the homunculus. All right, next is the home of good and evil. I think that right and wrong are subjective opinions that we hold. They don't exist out in the universe on their own. And as such, since they're subjective and they're opinions, they need to be carefully husbanded, managed, and maintained and brought on board very carefully as well. So this principle reminds me that I can't take my ideas of good and evil, right and wrong for granted. I have to work at them, and I have to justify my reasons for thinking that they're true. Next is the principle of purpose. I have 3 purpose in my life. My first purpose is to be a good husband and father. And these are important. These are in order of importance. So the first purpose is the most important purpose. The second purpose is to be a virtuous human being. Although I can't really be a good husband and father unless I'm being virtuous as well. So they kind of are dependent. And then my third purpose is whatever personal purpose I have in life. And my personal purpose behind fatherhood and virtue is to share the story of my own life journey in my book, Going Alone, and to share the resulting Good Life Creed. All right, next is the atomic principle. Everything is made of bits and pieces, atoms and molecules, and it's all falling to pieces. And then the principle of nature. Everything and everyone has a particular nature. It's good to recognize what that is so that we can live our lives accordingly, expecting things to behave and to be as they are. And then after the principle of nature comes the pirate ride, and my belief that free will is an illusion, and then maturity, and the sub-principles of wisdom and fortitude. We are mature when we wisely remember our past successes and failures and strive to do better. And then comes the social principle. We are social creatures, we need each other. The sub-principles here are diplomacy, justice, and conspiracy. As social creatures, we'll use diplomacy to work out our differences and to come to an agreed-to sense of what justice is. And then we'll link arms and conspire to make that true. Then the principle of family. It's good after our great life adventure is done, and I'll come to that in a moment, to go back and make a family. And now it can be the nuclear family or extended family or whatever type of family you want to create, as long as we have our people. And then the principle called public speaking, which is a recommendation to learn to communicate well, both listening well and speaking well and writing well. The sub-principles here are best words, cultivating a rich and deep vocabulary and being able to use it effectively. Prudence, the ability to filter what we communicate through our values. Felicity, filtering our communication through our emotions. Eloquence, a state that's arrived at through practice and observation, watching others that speak well, and then striving to learn to do the same ourselves. And then two negative elements, rumors and gossip. I try to avoid engaging in either of those. Both spreading rumors and sharing gossip is something that I call, they're part of they're two of my 8 sins that I'll get to when I get to the principle called sin and damnation, coming a little later around the corner. Next comes temperance. Temperance is our ability to control our consumption of anything and everything in life. Just having less, not overdoing it. Not just with food or drink, but just life itself. And the sub-principles here are suffering, simplicity, and apathy. Because we suffer when we tell ourselves no. So it's a good thing to suffer a little bit in the pursuit of a temperate life. A simple life is a temperate life. And apathy is the skill that we use to apply temperance to our want of the things that are beyond our reach. Then comes life will not go well. That's the next principle. And it won't. Life's going to have a lot of difficulties along the way. Welcome to the club. And then the next principle is called the horror show. Sometimes life goes poorly at a really extreme level, where we have things that happen that really would be worthy of a horror show flick. And life is full of that too. Then comes the principle called that which must be borne, B-O-R-N-E, carried. And what it is that we have to carry is the fact of the horror show, the fact of that life will not go well. It's our job to bear that. And then the Feast of Offal, which is what happens when we get upset and we spread that upset around on the loved ones and even strangers, or when we witness others doing the same and we consume that excess, that waste, and it contaminates us. I try to avoid both spreading it and consuming it through other more mature ways of managing my emotions and applying a sense of distance when someone else around me is doing the same, when they are not doing the same, when they are spreading their upset. It doesn't mean I can't be there for them, but it does mean that I will not consume that upset. It's a tricky thing to not do. Okay, then comes, I feel like I'm losing my place a little bit. Let me check the book. It's a brand new copy. I don't think it's got the latest changes in it, but I think it does have a few of the newer principles. So, Temperance, thou shalt be borne. Okay, I was right. So the next one is the principle of distract. See all the principles are laid out in the book here, each with its own heading in the chapter called The Good Life. Distraction is the next principle. We distract ourselves with all the things that we can do in life, all the things that keep us occupied and busy. And we do that so that we don't have to see that we're alone, ultimately, that we as a species and as life on Earth is alone, no one looking after us. That's the great indifference. It's the next principle, by the way. Agency and the great indifference. Agency is life and the effects of life, and the great indifference is the great emptiness that pervades the universe beyond, a universe without God, basically. That's the thing we distract ourselves with: our school and our sports and our hobbies and our gossip and our family and our politics and our God. All of that is a great distraction so that we don't have to see that we're alone and have to execute the hard work to form a good life out of all that stuff. The next one is the there we go. The best seat. I'm back on track. The best seat in the house. Do not want to be anyone else, or be anywhere else, or be doing anything else, but to be okay with who I am, where I am, and what I'm doing right now. Then comes the Restless Man, which is the anxiousness that we feel about the life ahead. I'm not saying that right. The Restless Man is not that. The Restless Man is, see, I told you I'm a little bit fatigued inside. It comes out in bits and pieces. The Restless Man is an anxiousness that we feel in life to have an adventure. Typically it comes in our teens and our early 20s. And my recommendation is to go to college, get your degree, and then promptly head off on a great life adventure until you're 30, whatever it is, and then come back and start to settle down. Or you can pepper your life with little great life adventures throughout. That's how I did it. Either way, it'll do the job. If you don't heed that want, if you don't listen to that and do something about that desire that you feel, that restlessness at an early age, there'll be a price to pay later. If you are a restless man or woman and you decide to engage in a great life adventure, then you must step upon what I call the Path of Wildness, which is that off-ramp, that juncture from one life into another. And when you have that great life adventure, that's the next principle, by the way. So they go in order: the Restless Man, the Path of Wildness. The great life adventure is that yield. It is that story that you get from the adventure that you have. And you'll have it all your life, and it'll form and become part and parcel and a significant part of who you are. It'll be your story. The fourth element here is called the risk of avoiding risk. This speaks to what happens if we are a restless man, if we do not step upon the path of wildness and do not give ourselves a great life adventure, what price to pay later in life. Conversely, what price is there to pay if we do too much of the great life adventure? Because there's a price there too. It's tricky to find a balance between the two extremes, the path of wildness and the safe and sane. I call that the risk of avoiding risk. Next comes sin and damnation. As I mentioned before, I mentioned two of my sins earlier: spreading rumors and gossip. There's also a number of sins related to being untrue or believing things that may be untrue. And the outline these are falsity, being untrue; credulity, believing things too readily, being gullible; faith, belief founded on belief, which is nonsense; superstition, it's a categorical category of belief that we almost recognize it as nonsense by virtue of its label. dogma, belief based on tradition; authority, belief based on eloquence and the charisma, or a funny looking hat and outfit. And then I've already mentioned rumor and gossip, so there are 8 total. Next comes complete oblivion after we're dead, since I don't think there's any soul or any God or any afterlife, and no forever, not for us. After we're dead, there'll be no reunion with the loved ones that we parted with. There'll be no reconciliation of differences, but it won't matter because we won't know. And there won't be any final justice, because there's no final justice giver, no justice court. Death is just an absolute emptiness to pervade the universe forever. Not even pervade, it's an absence of pervading, just being gone. Just like we were nothing before we were born. It'll be that same thing, but forever this time. Next is the season of philosophy. It's a reminder to be ready when the words arrive, to have your pen and paper ready to write down what comes, when they come, and try to cultivate that through living an interesting, engaging life with a great life adventure, at least one, if you are a restless man or woman. Next comes a principle called the script writing. Script writing suggests that we can lay out our plan for how our days are going to go and how our life is going to go by writing our own script in our mind as we proceed. You can do that in the immediate term, like seconds or minutes away. The longer term, half a day away. Or long term, planning out the days and the weeks ahead. I'm relatively new to this. I just added this principle 2 weeks ago, but it works wonders. It really is an amazing thing to take control of my mind and my thought process, and to plan out what I'm going to be doing throughout the day. And my brain seems to follow the lead, and my expectation too, and my results. Next comes the bullseye aim. This principle seeks to remind me that even though I may lay out a script of how I expect things to go, it's rare that it ever goes that way completely. It's like throwing darts at a dartboard. Only once in a while will we get a bullseye. Most of the time we miss, but we usually we're in the general area. That's how I should expect life to go as well. Next comes the uphill climb. Life is an upward struggle. Up, up, up. And tomorrow I want to have a greater, more comprehensive view of life and experience than yesterday. Arena and utility is next. Life, as I said, is an arena for the utilization of our principles to help us to achieve our objectives. So I see it that way, and I keep my principles sharp and at the ready at all times to use. Nothing is enough. A reminder that sometimes less is a lot more. And then finally, the principle of fun. A reminder to work to enjoy my day, enjoy the remembrance of yesterday, and enjoy the planning of good times for tomorrow. And I mean that in the truest sense. Good times. Good times of virtue, of course, not at the expense of others, but good times nonetheless. And I do that a lot more now. I don't just let life happen, and I'm not just working my way through. I'm actually striving to be better and to have more fun. All right, there you go. That's my Good Life Creed. 7 objectives and 34 principles. Now, let's plan for the coming day. I'm going to finish this video. I'll click the stop button in just a second. Then I'll upload it. I'll type out my little daily blog entry. Then I'll fire up the computer. I'll take the dogs out. I'll feed them. I'll let them outside or even walk them if they want to go out. It's still been kind of cold. Then I'll come over and I'll get ready for my day. I'll start my day up. I'll fire up, arrange everything on my workspace on the computer and get busy with my day's work. That's my plan. And that's what I'm going to do. Oh, and then when I'm done for the afternoon, I'll go to the beach, do my swim, do my run, and then I'll come home and I'll have a half hour or so of a book writing session. I'll write in my book, a signed copy to send to somebody. And then I'll finish the day with dinner and a TV show with my wife, Yumiko, and then I'll go to bed. And I'll rinse and repeat tomorrow. And I'll eke out of today some elements of goodness. I'll make the world a better place for my job. I'm very fortunate that I have a job that I get to make the world a better place every day. And I'm going to eke that out, however you say it, and work hard at that. I'm not going to dilly-dally. All right, I think I'm ready. Like I said, it's a little bit of a tough day because I think the holidays are over in earnest now, after Martin Luther King Day. I wish you all the best. Be safe, but not too safe. And with that, my life is done. Take care.